Hi, this is Craig Malsam with the school community relations class and the Understanding the Community project. I'm going to be talking about the town of Waukeeny, Kansas and Trigo Community Schools. Waukeeny was established in 1879. It's a rural community in northwest Kansas. We've got an older population, and that population is obviously decreasing like many of the towns around us. And the decreasing population is definitely having a negative effect on our school system. It's a mostly Caucasian community, not much diversity. Our schools, we have two buildings. We've got a K through 8 building, Waukeeny Grade School, as well as a 9 through 12 building, Trigo Community High School. We are classified 2A classification at the state level. We were as high as 4A several years ago, and then 3A for a long time, and about 5 years ago dropped down to 2A. So that just shows how our enrollment is dropping. Some of the traditions we have: senior to senior day. That's when our senior class goes out in the community for a day in the spring, and they do service projects for some of the elderly people in our community. We also have Community Appreciation Day in the fall, which is kind of the same thing, but the whole school goes out, not just the seniors, and do a lot of things like raking leaves and painting and washing windows, anything that the community members need done. For homecoming, we've got the class floats that each class does on Friday afternoon, and then the downtown parade. There's 1,924 people living in Waukeeny, Trigo County. For every 100 females, there are 83.6 males. Again, the ethnicity, not much diversity there. And occupations, a lot of farmers, ag-related type businesses. If you're not in an ag-related field, you're most likely in education or healthcare, or possibly self-employed in one of the construction trades. And as far as communication, we have the school website, trigoeagles.org, and this is a pretty good site, I feel, after looking at many other schools' sites over the last couple of years. Our superintendent that we have now does a really good job of getting things posted on there, trying to keep the community informed. He puts budget information on there and things like that to get that out to the community, and that touches on Standard 1, having an educational leader who promotes the success of all students by facilitating the development, articulation, implementation, and stewardship of a vision of learning that is shared and supported by the school community. I think by him sharing this information, it doesn't come as a big shock to the community when we're looking at needing to make cuts and things like that. As far as radio, we've got Eagle Radio out of Hayes, several different stations, and they cover the surrounding communities, not just Hayes, but others around them as well. Television, we've got cable channel 14 out of Waukeeny. It's a good information source, but not everyone in town has it. There's 2 service providers, so if you don't have Eagle cable, you won't get this channel, or as well as satellite, then you don't get it either. Our local news comes out of Wichita, and we get a little bit out of Hayes as well, bits and pieces, but for the most part it's Wichita. Newspapers, we've got Western Kansas World here in Waukeeny, and then also the Hayes Daily News, and again they do a good job of covering towns and events around them. Community groups, we've got a few here in town: Lions Club, Kiwanis Club, PEO. The PEO is a women's group that does a lot of service projects and things like that in the community. Numerous sororities and church groups that are always trying to do things. It'd sure be nice to have more than we do, but we don't, and something our town certainly needs to work on. As far as school organizations, we've got the Booster Club, PTO, and numerous service organizations and clubs like K's and T Club and things like that. They do a lot of good things out in the community, try to be seen. I think it's always good to have the students out in the community doing things, and helps the community understand what we're trying to do up at the school. As far as leadership in our community, we've got a mayor and 5 city council members, and then 3 county commissioners. In the school, we've got the superintendent, 2 principals, and 7 school board members. Our community leaders do a good job for the most part as far as being seen and being accessible. As far as in our schools, our superintendent does a great job of it, and he seems to have a lot of influence in places other than just inside our school. He has been to Topeka many times here in the spring, and it was kind of neat to read in some of the articles and things like that online that he was actually able to get up and speak. You know, it would list places like Olathe and Topeka and Kansas City schools, and then you'd have the superintendent from Waukene in there as well, so that was kind of neat to see. So I think that definitely touches on Standard 6, where he's able to get himself into a larger political arena and have his voice heard where it matters. I think that's been really good for us. Influences comes from parents and community members that are not necessarily related to social status, but just more of a groups of people or families that are willing to speak out and know how to get their way, basically. So our community leaders, for the most part, have strong roots in the community and are accessible. As far as our school leaders, I talked about the superintendent a little bit, and he seems to be doing a great job. This will just be his 2nd year here, but he makes himself very accessible to the community. Our grade school principal's been here probably about 10 years, and he's always willing to visit and is out in the public. We've had a pretty high turnover rate at the high school. The current principal's been there. This will be the 3rd year, and I see that turning over again soon, and not because he's doing a horrible job, just because it'll be time for him to move on. Our school leaders are not always free to express ideas or take independent action. Again, it all gets very political, like it does in any small town. Economic conditions in Waukene. The median household income is $40,547. 25% of households have children under 18. 51% of people with children are married. Average household size is 2.14. 9% of the population is below the poverty line, and it's an agricultural-based community. It seems like in our community, it's there's a lot of, you're either pretty well off or not, or you're really struggling, and not a whole lot in between, which can make for interesting diversity, I guess. But political structure, small community that politics strongly influence the school. I think that's the case in a lot of small towns. Everybody seems to know what's going on, but not always the facts of what's going on. Just hear this and hear that, so that can make it tough to have any change. Schools have an operating budget of $2.9 million, and over the past couple of years we've had many cuts because of the kind of declining population and funding. We've lost our band program, our home ec program, and our foreign language program all last year at the high school, and that's been really tough to see. I think those kinds of classes give the students a lot of different opportunities to diversify, and just hate to see that happen. But I guess it's part of living in a rural area that is shrinking. But hopefully we will be able to get some of those things back in the near future. Social tensions, very little diversity in the community or school. The only diversity, I guess, would be maybe with wealth, I guess, from the low end to the high end. Pretty big range there. No gang activity. Cliques formed through social groups and religions. The only discrimination I would say that exists would be among our religions, different religions, and that's tough to see because being in a small town with so many churches, none of the churches are very big. It would be a lot easier for everybody to get along and be able to have larger groups in those areas. That pretty well sums up Waukegan and Trigo Community Schools. And that will be the end. Thanks.